there was a happy little accident that that took place about 3 years ago with this plant here called duckweed. And so what I saw this floating on a pond one day as I was driving around the countryside, and I thought, oh, that looks really nice. I'd like to have that on my pond. So I just reached out and grabbed a handful of it, and I just threw it in the pond. And within a few days, it had almost covered the entire surface of the pond, and it looked really nice. But it was interesting that the chickens, one day as I was walking down into my chores, I saw the chickens were wading into the water up to their where their rubber boots end and their feathers begin, and they were reaching out and eating this duckweed out of the water. And I thought, that's really interesting. And so I scooped a handful up and I threw it on the road, and they just went crazy for it. So then I went and got a net, and I harvested a whole bunch of it, and threw that on the road and started feeding it to my chickens, and they just loved it as well. And I thought, what is the name of this? What is the name of this plant? And so I started doing some research online because I knew that the common name is duckweed, and it grows everywhere. And I just thought it was just some weed. But when I started to do research online, I found out that the Latin name is Lemna minor, at least the species that grows here, and it grows all over the world, and it has some very interesting characteristics that make it particularly useful for regenerative agriculture. The first being that it's 30 to 40% protein. It has more protein than soy, which, if anybody is raising livestock, you're probably struggling to find a good quality source of organic protein that's soy-free. And there's a lot of people that are struggling with health issues relating to the allergies that are caused by soy, and so that right there is absolutely amazing. The other fact is that it's very digestible by all animals. So chickens, pigs, cows. They've actually done a lot of research on this plant in third world countries where they're using it as kind of the basis for basically. Small scale, human scale agriculture, and the trials that they've done, they can use this plant as a complete or up to 50% of the replacement in chicken rations, with no loss in egg production or weight gain for some of their broilers, which is just absolutely phenomenal. And so we started to feed this to our chickens more, and we realized that we actually started to outstrip the pond's ability to grow this plant, and then one day we got a heavy rain, and the corrals over there, typically they drained a certain direction, and they actually flow out the other side of the corrals. But one day we got so much rain that some of the water drained down through our driveway here and into the pond, and over the next couple of days the duckweed took over again. And then I started doing more research on this plant and realized that in third world countries the way that they grow it is they basically throw animal shit into the water, to huge amounts of it, to try to encourage it to grow as fast as possible. So this plant actually doubles every 24 hours in the right conditions. So there's all these. This is a single plant here, and this is one plant, and the
fucking focus. Goddamn thing. Okay, yeah.
This is one plant, and every 24 hours these guys clone themselves in the right conditions, and then make two plants. And you think about the exponential growth rate that can happen with that when you've got a doubling rate every 24 hours, and you can get substantial growth out of a small pond. So right now I'm harvesting about 2 5-gallon buckets a day right now off of this pond, which would be it's about 40 pounds wet, and as you can see here, I'll take a couple scoops here and and you can see how little time it takes to get that much, and then how much biomass is still left in the water. But this tool I'm using to harvest this is actually just a minnow net that I got off of Amazon, and you attach a little cast line to it, and you can throw it out in the water. It's actually got a little wrist holder on it here, you don't drop it, and then you can just cast it and reel it in, and you can harvest about a 45-gallon bucket in 4 or 5 casts in the right situation, and I can maintain this level of production as long as the temperatures are above freezing, and as long as there's enough nutrients in the water. So we actually totally redesigned our corral system so that we could basically funnel all of the livestock runoff from our corrals into this pond. And we just had a huge bloom in growth production from this single pond. It's only a couple thousand square feet, and yet we're harvesting a substantial portion of our chicken and pig feed from this pond during the summer season. And as the system progressed even further, we started to notice that it wasn't just duckweed that we're harvesting as we're throwing the nets out. There's a lot of other organisms that live inside the duckweed. So you can see all these snails that live in the duckweed, and there's a lot of I'm not sure what kind of an animal lays these eggs, but those little red dots are all eggs. It might be snail eggs that are being laid in there. There's also there's dragonfly nymphs. There's water beetles. There's freshwater shrimp. Sometimes even minnows that I capture in here, although they're usually quick enough to get away. But I mean, just look at all of here's a water scorpion. All these different insects are really high in protein, as well as certain amino acids and vitamins and minerals that you can't get from plants. You can only get from insect or animal foods. And so what we do is we just come down here twice a day as part of our chores, and when we throw the cast net out, and we come and grab a scoop shovel, and we throw it in the bucket here. There's holes drilled in the bucket so any water can drain out that didn't drain out through the slats in the dock here. And in just a few minutes, you can capture tens of pounds of protein. It's a higher protein content and higher in digestibility, without any of the negative consequences of soy, for almost no cost. And so the only thing that this plant takes to grow is warm water and some kind of a nutrient source.